Well, investigate both sides of the argument, come up with your own conclusions.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
Negotiations over immigration reform. A bipartisan group of senators and White House aides are still trying to put together a deal that would help stem the tide of migrants at the border, but the Republican majority in the House is saying they won't come on board. Wei Zhang reports.
Tonight, the blame game goes on for the unprecedented number of migrant crossings at the southern border.
There's only one reason why this is happening. And that's because Joe Biden has eliminated all of the four policies that Donald Trump put in place that led to the lowest illegal border crossings in 40 years.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott says his state can't handle any more migrants, so he continues to bus them elsewhere. Just today, the Chicago mayor's office reported at least 5 buses are on their way from Texas. And New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced he is suing 17 charter bus companies for more than $700 million, demanding they help cover the cost to provide for about 34,000 migrants who have been transported to the city over the last 2 years.
These companies have violated state law by not paying the cost of caring for these migrants.
The White House blames House Republicans for blocking a funding package that included $14 billion for border security.
The president understands that there's a problem at the border. He put forth on his first day something to deal with that problem.
House Republicans are in no mood to negotiate. Instead, they are trying to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, who blasted the lawmakers on CBS Mornings.
I don't have time for words like that. We are focused here on solutions. Everyone agrees that the system is broken. And what we are doing is enforcing our laws.
And Wei Zhang joins me now. Wei, so where do things stand on these border funding talks between the White House and the Senate?
Well, senators met today, those who are in charge of the negotiations. They met virtually to try to make some progress. That is, of course, before all of Congress comes back next week. And the White House says they believe these senators are making progress. In fact, it has looked like that for several weeks now, but that is very different from having a framework and very different from having text when it comes to immigration policy because it is so complicated. But the White House believes, they say, that there is a good faith effort going on to try to cut a deal. But as you see on the screen here, they are worried about the supplemental request because House Republicans have already voted against that. They have linked a demand for changes to immigration policy to everything that you're seeing here. The $14 billion would include more judges, fund shelters, provide surveillance technology to try to control illegal drugs coming into this country. And so even though the White House says they believe progress is being made, of course, it's not just up.
Let's look at this graphic right here. So White House supplemental request for border funding, nearly $14 billion. Hire immigration judges and agents, fund shelters, provide surveillance technology. Wouldn't the border states want this money? Wouldn't they want this? Couldn't they use the surveillance technology to help them monitor the border? Wouldn't they like to have more immigration agents and judges so that they can process these people? What problem would they have with this?
And so even though the White House says they believe progress is being made, of course, it's not just up to them or these senators. And House Republicans, John, have already indicated that they are not willing to pass anything that doesn't include all of their hardline demands.
So no progress being made. It seems like that's the story of the Congress. Least productive Congress ever.
You say their hardline demands. Do you mean the Senate hardline demands or the House hardline demands? It gets hard to keep track of all of this because I guess what I wonder is whether the White House thinks if they can get a deal with the Senate Republicans or get something that can pass on a bipartisan basis through the Senate, whether they can just pressure the House into acting instead of doing what the House wants, House Republicans that is, which is their maximalist bill, which is even goes further than the Senate Republicans.
Right. And that's really important, John. And I did mean House Republicans, because they say they won't accept anything short of something that they already crafted. And that includes pretty extreme measures that would be very difficult for the Biden administration to swallow. And we are talking about expelling migrants swiftly before they are even screened for asylum, broadening deportations and detention centers. And so the question is whether they can find that compromise, because even if the Senate agrees and the White House can sign off on something that they put together, of course, both chambers have to pass this. And that is why it is not so tricky just here, but for decades. But John, it is important to note that this aid is also attached to other aid that the White House is desperate for, including funding for Ukraine and Israel and other countries in the Indo-Pacific. And so the question.
Okay, I can see I can see them having a problem with that. The funding for Ukraine, they probably don't have a problem with the funding for Israel, but funding for Ukraine, it's like that whole thing is all but over. Like, it's just freaking money laundering, just pouring money out the window. I could see them having a problem with that.
Is also how far the White House is willing to go in these negotiations to get something done, because so much is at stake.
Yeah, so that's my argument. My argument is that, that if they feel like it's such a huge issue, like it's an invasion, then you feel like it's an important enough issue for you to compromise on some things so that you can get the invasion more under control, right? Like, if you really feel like it's such a huge important issue, then you want to get something done instead of pushing for stuff that's not going to get passed. Like, maybe you're not happy with money to Ukraine or money to Israel or whatever, but you're willing to make that concession so that you can get something done related to the immigration issue, given that you feel like it's such an important issue. The way the government is set up is for compromises, so that one part doesn't get too strong or whatever. It's all about the balance of power or whatever. So for anything to get done, you're going to have to compromise. So if you don't want to compromise at all, then that's equals not getting anything done, which is what's been happening and what I think will continue to happen. And they can continue to scream that it's a problem. The caption, it says, White House aides and bipartisan group of senators are still trying to put together a deal that will help stem the tide of migrants at the southern border. But the Republican majority in the House is saying they won't come aboard. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijing Jiang has the latest on negotiations. Let's read some comments. It says, what Mayorkas claims he is doing is exactly what he is not doing. Such an arrogant liar. Another comment says, it's normal for a country to secure borders. It's not hard line and not extreme. Well, when it's like when you're not processing people at all, that's pretty hard line and extreme. And it's also just going to push people to not do things legal ways. They're going to try to sneak in. Another comment that says, everyone says the immigration system is broken. However, no one explains why it's broken or how it's broken. It seems to me they claim it's broken so they can do whatever they want with it. There are immigration laws on the books passed by Congress. Follow those laws or change them. This is a fair comment right here. And so, yeah, how it's broken is all of the freaking convoluted red tape in the process, and the lack of people to process people, the lack of border agents, the lack of funding. Another comment that says, close the borders ASAP. Another comment that says, JB won't need any more money for the border if he will just close the border. The cost will go down if he closes the border. Okay, in an elementary school way of thinking that works. In reality, that is stupid. Close the border. That means nobody's coming or going, you idiots. God. So you're like, okay, close the border. But then the next time when you want to go to Cancun or whatever the hell, you're going to be like, what the hell? Why can't I go through? Well, the border is closed. We didn't mean close it for us. How can you determine who's who if you don't have any processing at the border? If it's closed, you idiots. God. It says, Mayor Adams, wow, I am at awe with you suing the bus operators and demanding them to pay for exactly what you were preaching before. You welcome all these illegal immigrants and give them food, shelter, health care, and protection. And they add the illegal immigrants. How do you know that they're illegal immigrants? First off, but I still agree with this comment overall because I don't like that guy Mayor Adams anyways. But his decisions. He got to deal with them. Trying to put that on the people is a whole nother thing. And I don't understand why he's making these arguments that we have to food, clothe, shelter, teach these immigrants or whatever. Meanwhile, New York has like a huge problem with homelessness. They have a huge problem with people not getting food, shelter, access to education within his state, and these are citizens. So he feels like that's why I don't understand that. Like take care of the people that's there, and that's in your state. Take care of those folks. I don't understand that way of thinking. Another comment that says, we, America, have a border problem. Congress was elected to work together to solve problems, not elected to see who can attract more followers on social media. I'm telling you, man. Another one says, there shouldn't be any deal over the border. Follow the law and send them back. Don't allow them in, and that simple, and it's the law. Well, not necessarily, bro. Like the law is it's legal for people to seek asylum. Okay. And that's the part that gets lost when people use these words like illegal immigrants or, people crossing the border illegally and, stuff like that. It is within the law for people to seek asylum. That is there. It's in the law. It says defending the Constitution includes enforcing the laws of the nation. Intentionally ignoring the border laws is in fact sedition. They're not when it comes to processing asylum seekers. So if you guys feel like you don't want anybody to be able to seek asylum or whatever, then you need to change the law related to that and say no. We don't want nobody to seek asylum here ever. Another comment that says, not another dime till our borders are secure. No borders, no country. Don't need to fund the government. It says, shut the government down immediately. Another one says, I love how politicians negotiate, take 6 weeks off for every holiday while bitching that nothing gets done. Then 1% of the elected politicians meet in closed-door meetings to negotiate how much money and power they can make for each other. I think there's some truth to that comment. It says, Adams wanted to have a sanctuary city. This was his choice. He should not be allowed to sue bus companies. Another comment that says, I hope they get this guy out. Tomorrow isn't soon enough. We have to have control of our borders or there is no country. Another one, the mayor's desperate attempt to sue the bus companies is ridiculous. He's just trying to scare the bus companies away from cooperating. I would bet that Abbott agreed that Texas would defend them. I think that is what he's trying to do. He can't go at Texas directly, so he uses the bus companies. So then next time, Abbott puts some people on the bus, and the bus company can be like, you know what? No, we're not doing this because we ain't trying to get sued from New York. Another comment says, as a citizen, I would say he isn't enforcing any laws, or 300,000 plus people wouldn't be crossing into our country in 1 month. And like I say, these numbers aren't right. Usually, like, it's talking about how many people were processed at the border. And process doesn't mean that they entered. A lot of them got sent back. Play this one.